Meet Dr. Lois Lee. When she found 11-year-olds working as prostitutes in Hollywood, she took them home. She built the first drop-in center, ran street programs across the West, and created a world-class home for kids nationwide. Dr. Lois Lee didn't just start a movement, she's rescued over 17,000 kids from sex trafficking. Now she's pulling back the curtain so you can meet the kids who changed her life and hear the truths no one else will tell. Welcome to the Dr. Lois Lee Show.
Today's podcast is part 2 of the conversation we had with Nora, and thank you for listening. If Congress was to ask you what they should do about sex trafficking, I hate the term, but sex trafficking because it really skirts the issue, doesn't it? Because it's prostitution, it's child prostitution, and there's nothing romantic about it. What would you tell them they could do or they should do?
To really get to listen and get to know the ins and outs of it, because I feel like they have this broad idea of what it is, without really getting to know the ins and outs of it. It's kind of like reading a summarized book and thinking that you read the story and you think you can go in and be like, hey, this is what it's about. But I really wish they took the time to talk to some of us that were in prostitution, some of us that, have been through it, some of us that are still in it, to really get a full understanding of it. Because I feel until you get that full understanding of it, you can't help. You can try to help, but sometimes your helping is actually hurting. So I wish that they would take the time to get that full understanding of what it is and what the pain and trauma that we've been through, so that way they know how to talk to us and how to go about it and use proper terminology, and not try to sugarcoat it. Because sometimes when you sugarcoat something, the point doesn't get across. I wish that they were raw about it, because what happened to us was raw. It wasn't sugarcoated. So I wish that they would add some rawness into it and actually see that prostitution is a problem. It's a problem that needs to be handled with care, but with force at the same time. You can't go into it babying. You got to go into it just strong, full force, but you need a full understanding of it to do that.
You see all of these organizations, these sex trafficking organizations. What do you think about all of that?
I think some of them think they're in it for the right reason, but I think a lot of it is more to keep things quiet, to be like, hey, there are programs out there for these children that are in prostitution, but there's nothing really in place at these programs to help get them away from that, help them with their future. Like, once you're 18, bye, you're on your own. There's no other assistance after that. And I don't feel like a lot of these programs are there to honestly help. I think that they're there to get them to of age and put them on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe in a lot of the programs that there are nowadays. I feel like it's kind of like, hey, put them in here until they turn of age and then release them to the streets and they're on their own after that.
Mm-hmm. Me too. But it's not, many of them work with adults and stuff, but I agree that there's not, between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday doesn't cut it, does it?
No, not at all.
It's just, it's children there's nothing romantic about sex trafficking. It's not, you don't grow up, write a book and call it quits and, do television shows. And so many of the kids that I've already interviewed, they talk about, they were kids that did a lot of the talk shows prior to the shelter. And they talk about getting up and telling their stories without humility for the purposes of raising enough money to build a home for the kids that were going to follow them. Anything else you want to add?
I want to thank you for one, because I don't feel I can thank you enough. You've always had open arms for kids like me, that have went through rough patches. And there was times where I was like, after this, Lois isn't going to want to deal with me. She isn't going to love me. And you did. You were always there. You showed that tough love that we needed. You always said, well, I hope this time you're ready to get your shit together. And after you told me that in your office, when I had come back and I apologized to you, and you're like, well, I hope you're ready to get your shit together. because even though I'm here for you, it's not going to work unless you want it to work, unless you're ready to change or unless you're ready to make that change. And yeah, so I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful to Miss Ventura. She was an amazing teacher. Even though I gave her hell. And then when I graduated and I wanted to have a baby, she put me through this really difficult course.
I remember that. Talk about that course that you did.
Oh man. So I so badly, Miss Ventura, like, what do you want to do with your future? I was like, I want to be a mom. I want to be a mom now. And she's like, I don't think you do. And I was like, no, I do. And so they had this program where we had to
We had
read
the
this
program.
book. Yeah, man, where we had to read this book. And then after we read this book, we got this fake belly put on us. And oh man, that thing was so heavy. It hurt your back and you got to feel like you were pregnant. And then after you got to feel like you were pregnant, you got this baby. And this baby, Miss Ventura put it on hard, like extra hard. And you had to feed the baby, you had to change the baby. Like it didn't tell you what was wrong. You had to figure it out on your own. And so I thought I had this down packed. I had the car seat and everything. We had to buckle the baby in, and it was just like a real baby. So if you were driving, it's not like you could take the baby out and care for the baby. You had to try to figure out what was wrong with the baby in the car seat, and you couldn't take the baby out. And so that night, it was the first night. And I was like, during the day, I was like, oh, I got this. But that baby wouldn't stop crying. The baby just kept crying and crying, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. So I had walked out of my room and I walked into the laundry room and I put it in the dryer.
The
And
baby?
Miss Ventura, yeah, I put the baby in the dryer. And the next morning, Miss Ventura was like, Nora, where's your baby? And I was like, it's in the dryer. And she's like, Nora, you can't put a baby in the dryer. And I said, it wouldn't stop crying and I wanted to go to sleep. And she's like, no, you wanted a baby. Now you have to take care of your baby. And she gave it back to me, and I had to do the whole program all over again. And after that, I was like, I don't want any more kids. I didn't want any kids. I didn't want any kids. I ended up having my daughter I got pregnant with her at 18 and I did have her at 19, but I was married and I was in a relationship and it was planned, but I didn't want just any babies.
You had to take that
But
baby everywhere, right? If you went to Disneyland,
oh,
you had to take the baby.
yes,
You couldn't,
I couldn't, I couldn't do laser tag because I had the baby, and
you
I
watched
didn't
other
like.
kids play while you're holding your baby.
I did, and I even tried to talk to the person to let me let go in with the baby, and they were like, "You can't go in with the baby."
And could you get
They
a
were so
babysitter? Did they allow for a babysitter?
no, no, we couldn't. We were single parents. We could not have a babysitter. That baby had to go to the bathroom with us. It had to go everywhere with us. I even had to take it to therapy with me, and it wasn't fun dealing with the baby and trying to deal with my feelings and cry. But it did prepare me for when I had my daughter. So I'm thankful for that, but I'm also thankful that it made me wait till I felt like I was ready to actually have a baby. So
Well, what an experience. I really enjoyed talking to you today. What a
I
pleasure.
really enjoyed talking to you as
You know, I
well.
get to see you at the alumni committee meetings and at graduation and stuff, but I've never really sat down and listened to your story, and I don't remember all the things you remember in terms of our conversations and stuff. But I know they're true when you recite when you play act me.
Yeah. Um, it's just amazing. And, you've always made time to sit down and have conversations with us. You're a busy woman. So,
Mhm.
for you to be able to put on hold what you have going on to sit there and listen to what we had to say, because I know there was times where we just didn't even want to be in class and we were like, can we go talk to Lois? And you're like, after school. You would tell us to be like, hey, you got to get your education, but if it was really important, you were there. You were like, come on, let's talk. You always made time for us, but you always made sure that our education definitely came first. But if we were in distress, if we needed to talk, you were always there. So it's amazing. And, you know, I still be hearing your voice in the back of my head sometimes telling, "Are you ready? If you're not ready for this, I'm." So it's and it's and I tell it to my kids too. I always say like, "Hey, you're gonna mess up, but you're not gonna stop doing what you're doing until you're ready to." And nobody can force you. And that's one thing that always stayed in my head is like you always told me. You're not going to stop doing something until you're ready to do it. So that's something that sticks in my head, and that I tell my kids all this time, and because they feel like because I tell them, hey, you got to do this, like that they're going to do it. And I always say, you'll do it, but you're not going to do it right till you're ready to do it right. Um, I can only tell you to do something, but it's up to you on how you do it. So that's kind of how I live my life now. If I know I'm not ready to do something, and put full force behind it, then I'm not going to tiptoe around it. Because it's just a waste of my time and somebody else's time. So unless I'm ready to go full force with it, I'm not going to even tread on doing it because there's no point in half doing something when at the end of the day, I'm not going to get the results that I want. So unless I'm ready to go full fledged to get the results I want, I'm not going to waste my time or anybody else's time.
What was your favorite activity at Children of the Night?
Softball was my favorite family memory, but one of the best memories that okay, well, I have two, but one of the best memories was when we woke up on Christmas morning and we went and we opened our presents, and afterwards we went to Disneyland. Oh, that was that was one of the best Christmases, and I still talk about that Christmas till this day. It was so amazing. It was something that was unforgettable. It allowed us to be kids because we all ran from our rooms into the day room and we all opened up our presents. And then it was like, Mama was like, okay, everybody, let's get ready, let's go. And, we got into the cars and we went to Disneyland and we spent all day there. We, all received an allowance to be able to buy a souvenir from there. We were able to be kids and not have any worries. And my second favorite memory is when we would go snowboarding. We would take our snowboard lessons. We got to choose either snowboarding or skiing. I always chose snowboarding. And I remember me and one of the girls, we were like, we're gonna go up onto the second slope, and we got onto the wrong lift and we went all the way up to the highest slope. We needed assistance getting down. She tumbled down and I scooted down. So it took us a while to get there, but those are two of my favorite memories of being at Children of the Night.
And how were the Christmas presents?
Oh my gosh, they were lovely. And it's crazy because that year, I believe every girl in there asked for a pair of Uggs. And we all got our Uggs.
You mentioned that you learned a lot of lessons at Children of the Night. Can you recite them? Are they something concrete?
Yes, to take accountability for my actions. I used to blame everybody for everything I did. And they were the reason I did whatever it was that I did. And I actually learned to take accountability for my actions. And that's something that sometimes still to this day, it's a little hard to do. Especially in an argument. And then when how like you're in mid argument and you're like, dang, I really was wrong. So for me, I learned to take accountability for my actions and not blame other people because I'm in charge of my actions. I'm in control of them. I'm in control of my emotions. And so taking responsibility for my actions was one of the lessons that I learned there. Another lesson that I learned there is to not put anybody else before I put myself. Um, I used to put everybody before I put myself. And for years, I didn't put anybody before I put myself. And I just recently realized that for 13 years of my life, I was actually putting a man before I put myself. And I didn't realize it. And I didn't realize it until I found myself kind of going a little cuckoo and not really realizing, hey, what's going on? And when I reached out to my transitional meditation teacher, I had actually located her on Facebook. And I was like, I'm losing it. And she went back and she's like, do you remember your mantra? Do you remember anything? And I said, I think I do. And I started doing transitional meditation again. And as I was figuring out who I was deep down inside, I realized that I wasn't happy. And I asked myself the question that my therapist had asked me years and years ago, what makes Nora happy? And the only thing that I could say was making my husband and my kids happy. And that's when I realized that I didn't know who I was anymore. I realized that for 13 years, I had wrapped myself up in my husband and my family, and I lost myself. And I started finding myself again, and finding myself put me on a new path. And it's a new path that's still new to me, but it's exciting. But because that's one thing that I learned at Children Night is to put myself and to love myself before I put anybody else. Um, those have helped me get to where I am. And like I said, I still tell my kids that to this day. And sometimes my closest friend of, 14 years, she actually came to me and she was venting to me, and I asked her that same question that my therapist asked me, and she couldn't answer it. And I told her, I said, you got to learn to love yourself. You got to get to know yourself. And I told her exactly what you guys told me there. You got to love yourself and put yourself before you put anybody else. Um, so those are two of the lessons that I learned there, and they've helped guide me to where I am today. Um, I A third lesson I learned there was patience. I didn't have many of them. I was one to snap very quickly, and get angry very quickly, and I learned patience there. I've learned how to calm myself, to listen, to breathe, to it'll eventually pass. And if you react, there's always consequences, whether they're good or bad. And most of the time, if I'm angry, they're not good. So I've learned to have patience with people, and it's got me far. It's gotten me management positions. It's gotten me friends. It's helped me help people because sometimes people come off very rude or annoyed, and it's because they're going through something, and sometimes they just need somebody to listen to them. So if you come off and you're impatient and you are rude back to them, it closes them down even more. So when I'm out and about, or I'm at work, I'm always just upbeat and I'm always smiling and laughing, and people just open up to me, and sometimes I hear their story and I'm like, man. And it touched me one time because one of my customers, she came in and I was really upbeat and happy, and she was like, thank you, I needed this. She goes, because I lost my son and I didn't want to live anymore. She goes, I had nobody to talk to, nobody to turn to. And I was like, I just want to give you a hug. That's all I want to do. I don't want to tell you anything. I don't want to give you an earful talking about, what a million people can tell you. I said, sometimes a hug will just do it. And now we talk every day. So learning patience has gotten me far. And that's definitely one thing Children Tonight has taught me, especially living with the group of girls. You definitely need to know patience. So,
That's right. David Lynch brought transcendental meditation to Children of the Night, and he obtained funding. And we had a teacher that meditated with the kids in the shelter. We did it in the classroom
mhm.
every morning at 10 a.m., and we did it
Yeah.
every night before dinner at 5 p.m. And you were part of that group, and we went on those meditation retreats, and
Hmm.
I forgot about that. Um,
Yeah.
what was that like for you?
It was amazing. So I didn't get to go on the retreat because I actually was on a home visit. But My transitional meditation teacher, she was amazing. And it was so funny because her and her twin used to come and play tricks on us. Um, but it was, oh man, it was so amazing. It was life changing, and I still do it to this day. Like, especially when I find myself getting upset or overwhelmed and not knowing what to do, I sit there and I meditate, and it brings me to peace. When I can't sleep, I meditate and I fall asleep. And I knew to do that because I used to fall asleep meditating after school and sometimes before school. And it really does. It relaxes your mind, it clears it, and it clears your thoughts. So it brings you into this deep peace. And it was just amazing. I was there when we first started it, when we were like, well, let's see if this works. So it was an amazing experience. And I love that when I found myself not knowing who I was anymore, that I was able to locate my teacher and look it up. And I was like, David Lynch, transitional meditation. I was trying to figure it all out, and Facebook came to the savior, and I found her, and she's still involved. She still does it, and it was just amazing for her to so quickly just pick it back up and come in and help save me, because that's what it did. It helped save me. And Children and I opened that door for me to have that resource, that I still have to this day. So it's amazing how something that you don't think is so big, when you're younger, and now that you look back at it and you're like, man, and I tell the girls all the time, I'm like, I really wish I could go back and like take full-fledged, like take it all in, and not take it for granted, because I really honestly feel like I took it for granted. I feel like I took Children of the Night for granted. I really wish I didn't. I really wish that I graduated all the way out through, even though I got to the point and I was only a month and a half out. I was so quick to want to be an adult and live my life. And I feel like I didn't take full advantage of everything that was there. And I think because I also felt at that time that it was too good to be true, I was still waiting for this is what we want out of you. Because I thought it was crazy that a lady would want to help us with nothing in return. Um, and now I don't think it's so crazy.
We did it. We did it, and I'd do it all again.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful for that, and my kids are thankful for it too. Because now that they know my past, and they see what I went through, they understand why I am how I am with them. And I told them, I said, well, I got tough love from Mama Lois, so you're gonna get the tough love from me. Yeah, and I told them too. I said, I was like, though I remember all of us girls at one time were all getting into it. We were all just bickering with each other. And you're like, nope, we're having a meeting today. And we already had our morning meeting, but you called another meeting, and we were in the classroom, and you drew on the board a little barrel. And we were like, what is this barrel that she is? Like, none of us wanted to be in the room with each other because we were all at each other's necks. And you were talking about crabs in a barrel. And you're like, you see one getting to the top, and then here comes another one just dragging them down. And you're like, we can't do that. And you're like, we can't keep dragging each other down. We got to help each other get out of this barrel. You're just always there for us. And it's really crazy. I really wish that I could go back and I wouldn't run away from Miss Ventura, and that I would have followed all the rules.
No, you wouldn't have.
No, but I wish I did, as
You
an
were
adult.
fine. You were
Now I'm like,
easy
dang,
compared to some of the children we worked with.
I know, but I felt like I was I snuck a phone in there and I got in trouble. And I was like, I played sick. Like, I even went to the doctor.
Where was the phone? How did we find the phone?
Oh, because My roommate and I both had a phone, and we both just so happened to always be sick. One day, Maribel was like, Nora, and she told the other girl, hey, you guys need to step outside of the room really quick because we're going to do a room search. And I was like, no, I'm not feeling good. And they were like, no, you need to step out your room. We're going to do a room search. And she goes, you have two choices. We can either do your room search or you can hand over the phone. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, Nora, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And she pulled out the other girl's phone, and I was like, okay. So I gave up my phone, and I was sad. But you guys still allowed me to work. You guys just made like to make sure you guys extra searched me because at that time I had gotten a job. And I was working at a salon and I was cleaning up. And that's how I ended up getting the phone. And you guys still allowed me to work, but you guys like made sure you guys extra wanted me down and everything after that day.
Yeah, we had a metal detector at the front that we would check you with. Yeah. And we even had kids who would come in and have to use the bathroom and hide it in the back of the toilet tank. And as soon as you went to the room, we'd go to the bathroom and pull it out and pocket it.
And it was just, and I just knew, and I was like, I kid you not, I like plotted for like a week on how I was going to get this phone in there. And what's crazy is I didn't message anybody but my stepmom, which, so I didn't know what the plan. And I could have gone to the front at any time and called home.
Hmm.
But for some reason, I just felt like the urge to have this phone. And I think it was more of we had everything we wanted, but I felt like we were still trapped off from the world, even though we weren't, which is crazy because we went on outings every Friday. Every Friday, we took a field trip to do something. Every Sunday, we did family day. And during the week, we always did some activity or had, volunteers come at night and do stuff with us. We learned karate. We even had the girl from Flavor Flav come, and that was just amazing and it was fun. So like meeting celebrities, having all of that, it was just amazing. And as kids, you feel like, oh, I'm being punished. And I felt like us not being able to have phones was being punished. And now that I look at it, I'm like, we had everything handed to us on a silver platter. And now that I look at it, I'm like, my kids would kill for this life. They would have loved to go on outings and had family. I still make it a thing to have family day on Sundays. And it's something that I've carried on from children of the night. So we have to play a game or do something as a family on Sundays. And I've carried that tradition, and I hope my kids carry that tradition on to my grandkids. So there's still little things that we did at Children of the Night that I do in my family now. So
What would you today say to Nora when she punched her dad? That little angry girl. What would you say to her?
don't do it. It's not worth it. You'll get over being angry. But sometimes your actions bring you to really tough consequences. Consequences that will hurt you, cause you a lot of pain, not only to yourself, but to your family. And I think that we don't think about that, especially when we don't think before we act. Now, I definitely do try to think before I act. But I would definitely tell myself it's not worth it. It's not worth getting upset. It's not worth choosing violence. Because your consequence behind that is a lot worse than what's happening in that moment.
What were you so angry about?
I was angry because I felt like I was in a prison. Um, my dad, he was very strict. He didn't let us go out with our friends. We couldn't go stay the night at our friends' houses. If we went outside, it would have to be in our front yard or like right on our street. We weren't able to really go anywhere. And my friends were able to go to the movies. They were able to hang out. They were able to be free. Um, and do what they wanted to do. And I felt like my dad didn't give that to us. And I had yelled at him. I believe that's really what our whole argument was over, is he didn't let me do anything. And I wanted to be free. And he was like, "You're under my house, under my rules. You're not doing anything." And I hauled off and I hit him and I punched him. And I was like, I stepped back and I had this like look on my face like, oh crap, I actually hit my dad. And that scared the daylights out of me. And my dad hit me back and I was like, I'm leaving. I don't want to be here. And my dad was like, fine, leave. And I left, and I found out afterwards that he actually came looking for me. He went to my friends' houses. I didn't even know he knew where they lived. I didn't realize how much my dad actually loved me. But now I know. Um, and I apologize to him all the time. I do. Not only for hitting him, but for putting him through what I put him through, and, worrying him and making him worry, because it's not like I just ran away. And then he got me back safely. I ran away and I was traumatized. And I didn't trust when I came back. I didn't trust anything. I didn't trust my parents. I didn't, because I was so traumatized. I didn't know who to trust anymore. Um, so yeah, I would definitely tell my younger self that it, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Um, he's doing it actually for good reason. Uh, you may not understand it now, but you'll understand it in the future. So I definitely thank my dad for that. Um,
Thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you for allowing me to be here and share my story. It was definitely an honor. It was one that I had to think about, but I didn't have to think too hard about it, because I feel like putting my story out there is gonna help others, and help others see that they're not alone. So
And many of the children who helped build the shelter did their stories too. And they were raised on the street. We didn't have a shelter. We just had a street program and a drop-in center. So it's really been a roller coaster here, going through each of the generations of my work, and sharing the lives that I shared with you at the time. So again, thank you, Nora. I'll see you soon. Thank you for walking beside me and never giving up on America's children. If you want to support our mission, go to childrenofthenight.org and make a gift today. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Many more episodes will follow.